All right, guys, this might be my favorite video of the course. We're gonna talk about targeting, and I'm gonna cover the research process that I use to ensure that I'm actually reaching the part of my market that wants to buy what I'm selling. Let's hop into my computer. All right, guys, it's time to talk about targeting. This is probably my favorite video in the course, so I hope you enjoy it. We've talked about customer avatars. Now it's time to really dig into how do you actually reach these people on an ad platform, right? Something like Facebook or Google. And the reason that targeting is so important is because you can build the best campaign in the world. Amazing ad copy, creative, it's just awesome. But if you put it in front of the wrong people, it will fail. And unfortunately, bad targeting is one of the biggest mistakes that I see media buyers making. People spend so much time making the ad copy really compelling and making a beautiful creative, but then when it comes to the targeting, they just kind of throw in some broad interests or nothing at all, and they wonder why it failed. And the reason it failed is because they put it in front of the wrong people. So I want to make sure you guys don't do that. So targeting is really about being in tune with your avatar. You're going to see a huge theme of research throughout this video, really figuring out who wants to buy your product or service and why. And we talked a lot about that in the last video. Being able to answer this question, I believe, is what makes you an excellent marketer, right? Really being able to understand a group of people so well that you can speak to the benefits that they're looking for, that you can speak to the pain that they're going through, so that you can give them a solution out, right? So that you can recommend a product or service that's going to help them. And as I said, doing a ton of research to figure this out is very, very important. So we have an opportunity as marketers that's never existed before. Most humans are leaving digital footprints that give us the data we need to do the marketing that we want to do. We know so much more than we used to as digital marketers. As I talked about in the last video, we used to really just have demographic aspects of our market to target or to discuss, right? They were women over the age of 50, or they were people that were retired. Facebook now has something crazy like 50,000 plus data points on every user. And we need to keep in mind that people are giving Facebook that data, right? Every button that you click on Facebook is giving them data so that they can make more informed decisions in the future to show you ads that they think you will be interested in. So we have this huge opportunity to leverage all of this data on the internet that's being gathered every day. People telling Google or Facebook, really what they're interested in. What is their intent? People, are you looking for cars online, right? Something as simple as showing intent to buy a car. So let's definitely take advantage and appreciate this huge opportunity that we have because of the amount of data that people are giving to Facebook and Google. This is going to make our targeting options a lot more fruitful than they were 10 or 15 years ago. So our goal is to really discover where your market is hanging out on Facebook. That's what I want to teach you here in this class. And I want to start with this graphic. So this is something I call the "but no one else would" trick. So on Facebook, when you're targeting cold traffic, there is something called interest targeting. And Facebook has millions of interests that they have accumulated based off of actions people are taking on Facebook. So there are interests around Dave Matthews. There are interests around, places that you could go, books that you could read. The interests are endless. And Facebook is creating these interests based off of pages you like, posts that you might engage with in your newsfeed. Anything that tells Facebook more about someone could lead to them being included in an interest. So as advertisers, we can target these interests. And what's interesting is that there's not just an interest list laying out there that we can go pick and choose what we want to target. As you'll see in a minute, you just have to start typing stuff in and see what's there. So that's why the research process is so important here, because we need to come up with ideas of possible interests that we can target to reach the cold portion of our market. And, not every idea that we're going to come up with is going to match up with an interest in Facebook, but I find that about 50% of them usually do. So this is how I think about interest targeting, because the big mistake is that most people, they're way too broad in their interest targeting. So someone will want to sell yoga clothes and they'll go in and they'll just type in yoga as the interest and they'll target 200 million people, and it's way too broad, right? Just the word yoga, that's way too broad. We don't know that those people are actually practicing yoga or really into yoga or really wanting to buy yoga products. So if you think about it in terms of but no one else would, it's going to help you come up with ideas for interest that are really specific to your market, that reach that avid core part of your market of people who actually might buy. So for example, in the golf market, if you're looking at famous golfers, I ask myself, a golf enthusiast would know who blank is, but no one else would. Right? And if you can come up with a golf enthusiast would read this magazine, but no one else would. A golf enthusiast would read this blog, but no one else would. It's going to help you come up with ideas, as I said, that are very specific and reaching a very warm part of that market. So for golf, Bubba Watson is someone who definitely isn't as famous as Tiger Woods, right? Most people would go in and type Tiger Woods in, and it probably wouldn't work because Tiger is an international celebrity, right? My grandmother likes Tiger because he's been in People magazine. He's not specific enough. He's way too broad. Non-golfers know who Tiger is. It doesn't pass the but no one else would trick. Then you have a step inside, Phil Mickelson. So Phil could be an good interest to scale to later, but he's still someone that I know, and I'm not a golfer, but I just know Phil from commercials and from my dad talking about him. So, casual golfers would know who Phil is. And then here in the middle, of course, we have Bubba Watson, and these are the types of interests that we especially want to start out with when we're launching Facebook ad campaigns, because it passed this but no one else would trick. So make sure that you're using this but no one else would trick as we're doing the interest research that I'm going to teach you here in this video. So before we go any further, I want you to understand how Facebook targeting actually works in Facebook. So in case you weren't sure, here is how a Facebook campaign is structured. So you have the campaign level. So this is the overarching campaign level, right? Think about this as the ad sets and the ads fit inside the campaign. So at the campaign level is where you set your objective, which we'll talk about in the next module. So maybe you want to drive traffic or you want conversions. At the campaign level, you can also set the budget for the campaign if you're using something called campaign budget optimization. Or you can make the decision to set the budget at the ad set level. So ad sets live inside of campaigns. There can be multiple ad sets in a campaign. And like I said, you can set the budget at the ad set level, but this is really where you are defining your targeting. So the biggest differences between your ad sets are going to be the people that you target. So everything that we talk about in this video is going to live under the ad set level. And then in each ad set are ads. So this is where you're actually defining the copy and the creative. These ads are what the end user is going to see. And those live inside of the ad set. So I'm actually going to hop into Facebook and show you guys around a little bit. So you'll see that we're in Business Manager right now, which you should definitely get that set up if you haven't. And then we're in Ads Manager. So this is where you build and monitor ads inside of Facebook. Now, I clicked to create a new campaign because I want you guys to see. You can see you've got the campaign level. So these are the first questions Facebook's going to ask you. You've got the ad set level and then the ads. So Facebook does a nice job of laying this out here for us. And I'm just going to click through here so that we can get to the ad set level so that I can explain to you the different targeting options that we have. So before I show you my process for targeting, I just want to explain what our options are. So all of the targeting fun lives under this audience box. You can see there's also audience size here. Ignore this meter. It's usually not right from what I've found, but definitely pay attention to this potential reach number. So if you are setting up an ad to cold traffic to people who have never heard of you before, that's done here in this detailed targeting box. You want to make sure that each ad set is between about 500,000 to 7 million in potential audience size. That's going to give you a really nice audience size so that it's not too small that Facebook can't optimize and scale your campaign. So this is really the sweet spot that I have found. And for warm audiences and hot audiences, all of that lives under custom audiences. Obviously, you can't really control those audience sizes, right? It's only going to grow, when people visit your website, right? Or whoever you're targeting. So don't pay attention to those numbers for warm or hot. But all of that lives here under custom audiences. So if you go up here and you actually go to audiences, this is where you can create all of those warm and hot audiences. And I'll just quickly show you the different options that we have. So you can see these are audiences that I've created in the past. So hit create audience, you hit custom audience. And then we have different options here. So customer file, this is where you can upload, for example, an email list or a list of phone numbers for Facebook to match against Facebook profiles for you to target. Website traffic. This is where you can target people who have visited your website. So you can do all website visitors or people who visited specific web pages, right? And haven't visited other pages, which is really great for retargeting. Visitors by time spent on your site. You can also create audiences based off of events, which we'll talk more about when we talk about the Facebook pixel. But this is where you can create those website custom audiences, which are really powerful for retargeting. You can also create audiences of people who visit and use your app. Offline activity is a way to upload sales information. For example, if you had a shoe store, you could upload a list of everyone who's purchased from you in the last month to see if it matches up with a Facebook ad that you ran. So this is a great way to track purchases that are happening offline and match them back to the Facebook ads that you've run. And then there's engagements. So these are more of your warm audiences. So being able to retarget people who have watched your videos, visited a lead form, a full screen experience, people who have interacted with your Facebook page or your Instagram profile, or people who have interacted with an event. So guys, play with these. There's so much you can do here with custom audiences in terms of your warm and hot audiences. And then you have lookalikes. So lookalike audiences are audiences that you will use to cold traffic. And what you can do is you can choose a certain data point, right? So for example, we could choose the Facebook page, or we could choose a certain custom conversion, or we could choose, just simply a custom audience of all people who have purchased from you. We enter the country that we want to target, and then we start with 1, right? 1%, but can go up to 10. And Facebook will create an audience for us that looks most like the people in that source data that we gave Facebook. So lookalike audiences can be great for scale and cold traffic, and this is where those guys are found. So I just wanted to make sure you had a quick run through of that. And let's get back here at the ad set level. All right, so we're back under audience here. So we talked about custom audience, and then all of this is demographic information. So when it comes to targeting, location, you should target wherever you can sell your product or service. So if you're a hair salon, that's probably within 30 miles of a particular city. If you can ship internationally, it might be 10 countries. So that's really up to you. Especially for your first Facebook campaigns, I really recommend leaving the age, gender, and languages this as default here so that you can see for yourself who is purchasing from you. Like I said, I usually leave these wide open. And then down here under the detailed targeting box. So this is my favorite. This is where the interests exist that we talked about earlier. So this is where you could literally type in anything and see if it's an interest that you could target. For example, let's see if Dora... Yep. So Dora the Explorer, right? 1.8 million people. Dora Explorer, 46. Video games, right? And you can see that some random things are pulling up here. So interests are what I utilize most to cold traffic. It's where the cheap traffic is, because most people won't go through the research process and the time to actually find those really juicy interests in a particular market. So we'll get into that here in a second. But one more thing to be aware of, there are some demographic and behavioral options here that you can use for targeting that we'll talk more about later. I don't usually use them, but if you find something in here that just really relates to your business, give it a shot. But you can even see in here under interests, the ones that Facebook is recommending, they're pretty lame, right? Like, for example, there's one called advertising. Well, instead of that, let's just target the people who are educating advertisers, right? I'm sure that Mari Smith has an interest, of course, right? I'm sure that Ryan Dice has an interest. So there he is. So this is really endless, guys. Lots of opportunities. And then down here under connections, this is where you can control whether you want to target people who like your page, friends of people who like your page, exclude people who like your page, and same thing for apps, events, and they let you do some advanced stuff down here. So this is where this happens, guys. And don't forget that you can utilize these together. So maybe we want to target Mari Smith, cold traffic, but maybe we want to exclude, our email list, right? So we would just click email list and then click down here and click exclude, right? And notice that when you use a custom audience, it's going to remove your number here. That's because of the Cambridge Analytica issues that happened in 2018. But just know that those people are excluded and that that's a possibility. All right, so let's hop back into Facebook. So, how do we figure this out? Right? And all of this happens through research. So let's dive into that. Alrighty, so let me show you the research process that I use to find an abundance of interest so that we put our ads in front of the right audience, but so that we also have other audiences to scale out to once it works. So a few research tools that I use, and basically I feel like in this moment we are detectives and psychologists, both in the same. So we're really using these tools to try to learn more about a particular avatar. So obviously Google, right? So, you saw on the customer avatar sheet, and you will see here in this video that a lot of what I'm trying to figure out is what information is someone consuming in this market to show that they're interested. So you can use Google to figure out top brands in that market, top books in the market, top events in the market. Google is your best friend when it comes to targeting research. Audience Insights. So Audience Insights is a tool given to us from Facebook, and it can be found up here in Business Manager under Plan. And Audience Insights is really great for finding other interests after you found a few. So what I mean by that is, imagine that we are trying to target people who are really into organic foods. So maybe we target Bob's Red Mill Natural Foods. Maybe we target Thrive Market. I buy a lot of healthy foods from them. Okay, so we've got two already. We've got 1 million to 1.5 million. So those are pretty big, right? So then I would click over to page likes. And what Facebook is going to do is they're going to return a list of categories and pages that are most similar to the ones that I've input here. So after I find a few, maybe through Google, then I start to insert them into Audience Insights and look at all of the opportunities we have here. Not all of these will match up with interest, but most of them will, right? And this research process, what I'm doing is I'm creating a Google Doc like you see here. So this was what I did was I listed some different avatars. So I had a yoga avatar here, a spiritual avatar here. You can see that's a lot. Crystal enthusiast. So I've got a bunch of avatars in this document. And what I did is through my research, I just started making lists here of possible interests we could target. And then I went back and matched them in to Facebook. And these are the ones that matched up, right? So you can see this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the weirder, more intimate stuff, not just yoga, but all types of different types of yoga and famous yogis, right? And yoga centers and yoga resources online and yoga apparel and everything that we can find around yoga that isn't broad enough that it's going to reach people that don't actually do yoga, right? So Audience Insights is great. From inputting Thrive Market and Bob's, now Julian Bakery, Wellness Mama, Brandless, right? We want to click over and make sure that they relate. But now I have a whole list through Audience Insights, which is a really, really great tool. Reading Amazon reviews, this can give you an idea of what this person's thinking about and what they're interested in. It's also great to search different books or products in your market and then scroll down and look at other recommended or related products to that, because that'll give you an idea of, possibly other brands you could target, other interests that you could target. And then reading forum and community discussions. So if you can join a Facebook group, or if you can join a forum, maybe you're trying to target dentists and you join a dental forum, this is great research, especially to figure out the language that these people are using for when you get to the next step, which is ad copy. So for targeting, we're really living in these top two, but the bottom two can be beneficial also. So research questions, these are really important, guys. So after you've figured out your avatars and you sit down and you say, okay, I want to reach this, environmentally aware mother, or I want to reach this woman who's really concerned with her skin, whoever it is. In this video, we're going to reach people that like to cook. So we're going to imagine that we are selling cooking courses and cooking supplies, right? So different kitchen stuff, so physical and info products. And we're going to imagine that we're really trying to reach people that like to cook at home. So not professional chefs, but people that we know are at least cooking a few times a week. So first step, just have that person in your head, right? Who is that person you're trying to reach? And then you're going to go through these questions and use tools like Google and Audience Insights to try to come up with as many answers to this question as possible. So either open a Google Doc or get out a piece of paper next to you and start making a list of possible interests that you could target based off of the answers of these questions. So what authority figures or thought leaders does your market follow? So you'll see me do this live in a bit, but for the cooking market, I'm thinking about everyone on cooking shows, right? Who are the celebrity chefs? My dad loves to cook. My dad is definitely our avatar for this example. And he loves Emerald, he loves Barefoot Contessa. He loves just watching cooking shows. He gets a lot of inspiration and he learns. So those are definitely authority figures. Other thought leaders could be people that are writing books on cooking and really educating this market. What books, magazines, blogs, publications do they read? So this is going to be fun for our current example because lots of books, magazines, blogs, and publications about cooking. What events do they attend? So, number one, back up to authority figures. And guys, not every market you're not going to have answers to each question for every market, right? Not all of this applies to every market. If you're a hair salon, you just need to be doing local targeting within 30 miles of your store and call it a day, right? But if you are in more of a national market and you're in a market that you really need to penetrate, right, and be present where these people are already hanging out, these are the questions that you need to try to answer. So if they're already following an authority figure in this market, they're probably pretty darn qualified to buy your product or service. Same thing for books, magazines, blogs. What events do they attend? So different markets call events different things, right? If we're trying to reach people who like to fish, this might be a fishing tournament, right? If we're trying to reach marketers, it's probably more of a conference. But if you can think of an event that happens in your industry, whether it's offline or online, but people coming together to meet up, those people are probably really into whatever it is, that you're trying to market. What tools do they use? So every market has tools that they use to practice, whatever it is they're doing. So with fishing, it's fishing rods and reels, right? With yoga, it's your yoga mat. With cooking, holy crap, we have a lot of tools. And this can really go down a rabbit hole. But, thinking about what types of tools do they use? What brands make those tools? Because if we start to target KitchenAid, that could be a really good interest to reach people that like to cook because they're following a brand that makes tools to allow them to do that thing, right? So starting to research tools, starting to research the brands that make those tools. What else are they purchasing in your market, right? So what other stuff do they need to be a part of this market, and who makes those? What stores do they shop in, right? Are there stores specific to your market, online or offline, that you can target? Who's your competition, right? Those are always some of the first interests people come up with. Who's your competition? Where does your market live, right? As we talked about when we went over the location part of the audience box, we want to make sure that we're targeting places where you can actually sell your product or service, where your people live. So those are all research questions that I go through whenever I'm entering a market and trying to do cold traffic research. And we'll come back to that in a minute. But really quick, if you sell more of a commodity product, like you sell a toothbrush and you're like, Molly, no one's reading books about brushing their teeth, right? Like what you're saying doesn't work. I totally get it. You need to think about your targeting more from a triggering event. So you need to think about triggering events for your targeting versus necessarily interest targeting. So triggering events create windows of opportunity where your prospect is far more likely to act. So triggering events could be a job change, birth of a child, a marriage, a divorce, a birthday, major system failure, right? Maybe their air conditioning went out, so therefore they need to hire an air conditioning company. Maybe their CRM crashed, so they're finally ready to buy another CRM. Holidays, right? Graduation. Triggering events could be anything. If you're selling toothbrushes, it might be that the dentist just told them that they need to take better care of their teeth. Or it might just be that their current toothbrush is old and they need to buy a new one. But if you start to think about triggering events, if you're selling more of a commodity product that doesn't have a market around it, if you start to think about triggering events, it's going to make this a lot easier. And that's where some of the underbrows, some of these categories that I showed you that I said I don't use a lot, they can come into play more for triggering events. So in case you guys didn't know, you can target people by their anniversary, if they're away from their hometown or family, date of birth, if they're in a long distance relationship, if they just got a new job, right? And you're selling suits to men, well, it might be a good time to sell them a suit, right? Long distance relationship might be good for a travel company to start targeting you if you just got into a long distance relationship, right? You guys are getting what I'm saying. New relationship, newly engaged, newlywed, recently moved. Anyone selling anything related to moving or to furnishing a home, this is for you, right? Same thing with newlyweds and, the whole wedding market right here. That's all based off of a triggering event. You can even do targeting around close friends of people with birthdays in a month, or men with a birthday in 7 to 30 days. I have clients that sell more of gifts, right? And we use this targeting all the time to get them to purchase for their friends. So just a quick example, if we were selling suits, right? Again, it's hard to do the research to figure out, well, what books are they reading? They're not. They just wanted a suit, or they needed a suit, so they went to buy it, right? So thinking about different events that could lead to this suit that might make for good targeting. So graduating, so parents of kids that are graduating, or kids that are graduating, people that are entering the workforce, right? That just got a job, like we talked about. young professionals that need a more adult work wardrobe, 20 to 30 somethings who are in wedding season, right? In your 20s and 30s, sometimes you'll attend multiple weddings a year. Businessmen who travel a lot and they need more suits than the average person. These are all triggering events and ways that you could target if you are selling more of a commodity product. So, okay, let's switch back and let's do this live. This targeting interest research, acting like we are wanting to reach people that like to cook, right? So remember, we imagine we're selling info products on how to cook, maybe even group classes, and maybe we're selling kitchen products too, actual physical products. What would I do, right? So let's go back up to these questions here. So we've got what authority figures, thought leaders, books, magazines, blogs, publications, events, tools. So I think we can even just stick to this page and get plenty of research done here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Google so that you can see, like I said, this happened live. So with authority figures, we kind of already talked about that. So let's do top celebrity chefs, but I also want to use discretion again, right? The but no one else would trick. So if Anthony Bourdain pops up, probably not going to add him because people love Anthony for reasons other than him just being a chef, right? But this is where I would have a Google Doc open. So you can see my lists here that I've made in other industries. And so let's just say people who like to cook at home. And then I'm just starting to make lists, right? And what's great is when you Google something like top, Facebook's going to usually return people here. You don't even have to click through, but you can start to search through. You get lots of lists, right? Greatest celebrity chefs by fame and popularity. So we're actually looking for more of the mid-level people, I would say. So let's go up here. Gordon Ramsay would be a good one. I know he has a master class on cooking. Wolfgang Puck, probably a little bit too popular. Bobby Flay, let's put him on there. And guys, it's up to you how long you go on each of these. You could have hundreds of these listed. James Beard, yeah, let's go with him. Like I said, let's skip Bourdain here, bless his soul. And if you guys want to, also while you're doing this, you can do what I call matching. So a lot of people make their lists and then go back to see which of them match. You could also do that in real time, right? So for example, I could be in the audience section here, just starting to type these in. And if you do it this way, it makes it nice because then you can put the audience size. So I had all the audience sizes next to these, and then I ended up just combining them. But let's see Gordon Ramsay. All right, yeah, 12.5 million, 350,000. So I would go ahead and write down, these three at least, these two at least, and, I would definitely add those to the list. So, like I said earlier, going to cold traffic, we're really looking for 500,000 to about 7 million if you can. So someone like Gordon Ramsay, it looks like Facebook's being a bit buggy here, and I always unselect this box, guys. This can really throw off your optimization. So someone like Gordon Ramsay, this is already at 4 million. So this could be its own ad set in itself, right? Just Gordon Ramsay. So we could note that. But what I'm doing is just going through these people and starting to write them down and just making lists, right? Going back, what books, magazines, blogs. So obviously recipe sites, right? top recipe sites, all recipes, Food Network. Let's see if these show up. Sometimes you need to do things like put the two words together. Yep, allrecipes.com. Awesome. Food Network. That would be a good one. Okay, yeah, it looks like we got lots of options here. I would write all of these down. 68 million might be a little too big. Let's see what it looks like. So yeah, 30 million people. That one's a little big. But, you know, here's 15 already, right? And many more lists that we could go through. What events do they attend? You know, and back up here really quick. Also, TV shows would be huge in this market. Events do they attend? I don't really know if that applies here. What tools do they use? And what brands make those tools? So top kitchen brands, top cooking brands. So, you know, William and Sonoma, right? What brands of pot and pans are the best? You could look through here. Let's click here. Bulb Head seems to be a brand. Or that could be part of the what they're buying. Okay, so this isn't the best one. All Clad, Pyrex, Kate Spade doesn't really work. So we would need to do some more research, like, you know, top pots and pans for cooking, right? And then you could scroll down, what brand of pot and pans are best? Cookware buying guide. You could get a ton of brands from there. But you guys get the point. What we're doing is we're trying to make lists so that you then have just a plethora of interests to use. The amount of ad sets that you have in a cold traffic Facebook ad campaign is really up to you, and it depends on your budget. I wouldn't have an ad set that's less than $20 a day budget. So you just want to make sure that you are picking the interests that you think relate most to your audience and grouping them so that you can get a nice potential audience size of 500,000 to 7 million. And then you have your lists, right? So, I mean, maybe 4 or 5 of these would go together. And then in the next ad set, a few more. And the next ad set, a few more, depending on their audience size. But I still have a ton to use for scale later, which is very, very exciting. So just to recap really quick, guys, with our selling to cooking people, there are a lot of different directions that we could go with this. Targeting top chefs, targeting books and recipes, targeting different kitchenware that they might be using. So really start to answer these questions and do this research for your market. If your market, or if you're selling more of a commodity product, no worries. Think more about triggering events and how you can leverage Facebook to get in front of your market when they're in need of your product or service. And just again, because this is a question I get a lot for cold traffic campaigns on Facebook, I do recommend 500,000 to 7 million per ad set. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next video.